Hey everybody, I'm Benjamin, aka The Terrible Australian, and welcome to my video review of Inferno, which of course is the third film in Dan Brown's Robert Langdon series, and of course the third to also be directed by Oscar-winning director Ron Howard. So let's get right into it. Now I should start off with what my thoughts on the very first two Robert Langdon sort of mystery films, which of course were The Da Vinci Code and Angels and Demons, before I go right into this one. The Da Vinci Code I thought, I know a lot of people didn't like that film, but I thought for most part it was an okay film. I can understand why that sort of, both that film and also the original book that it was based on kind of took the world by storm, because it had a really interesting premise to it that I found really intriguing. But the actual film itself, I thought, was kind of a mixed bag. There were some really interesting elements to it, but I felt like it kind of was a bit sluggish at times as well, and, a bit silly, and was a bit too overlong and could have used a bit more sort of a Indiana Jones kind of adventure feel to it. Now with Angels and Demons though, this one was definitely more sillier than the Da Vinci Code, but I actually really enjoyed that one, and I actually thought was better than Da Vinci Code because I found the plot to that one just as interesting, but I felt like they actually did, so they sort of fixed up the problems what they had with the Da Vinci Code with that film, so it kind of was more satisfying to me as a viewer. So when I heard that Inferno, which is actually based on the fourth book in the Robert Langdon series by Dan Brown, was being made into a film, and once again being directed by Ron Howard, who directed the previous two entries in the series, I was very curious to see, because it has been quite a while, it has been quite a while since the last sort of Robert Langdon adventure. Angels and Demons came out in 2009, so it has been, about 7 years since the last adventure, so I was very curious to see how this new film was going to, what this new film was going to be like. Well, at least, because to be fair, I should say I haven't read any of the books, so I can't judge how, these adaptations sort of compare to the film one, so I'm just judging the films on their whole. But that being said, with Inferno though, unfortunately I didn't enjoy it as much as I did with Angels and Demons. To me, in a lot of ways, it did remind me of watching the Da Vinci Code again. Although I will say this though, I do think Inferno is definitely the weakest entry, and I think the main reason for that is, even though it does have a very interesting premise and an actual interesting mystery at the center of it, but overall, I just didn't find it, I guess, as engaging as the other two films, if that makes any sense. Because I think the main reason for that is because I think this film actually has a much lower budget than the first two films. Because the first two films kind of felt like really big budget, blockbuster, mystery films. While this one, it's definitely, the budget for this one was a lot lower than the first two. And I feel like it kind of hindered the film in a lot of ways, because at times the film feels more like a slightly bigger version of an episode of a TV show. It could easily be the pilot for a TV show on Robert Langdon as a character. So, and also, I felt like, even though it had a really interesting premise at the center of it, but the other, the Da Vinci Code and Angels and Demons, I don't feel like director Ron Howard and the film screenwriter David Koepp really sort of explored it in a way that was really satisfying and engaging to me as a viewer. Like I said, there are some interesting aspects to it that in some ways did still engage me, but I kind of feel like it never really sort of capitalizes on the premise, especially with this one being kind of a more sort of almost save the world kind of scenario compared to the first two films. So that being said though, there are some aspects of it, even though it did feel very TV-ish at times, I thought the film did look really good. Visually, it did feel very televisual, but there were some pretty cool sort of visual sort of moments in there in terms of the direction and that. And also, Tom Hanks is pretty solid in the role as Robert Langdon. It's definitely not one of his best performances, but with Tom Hanks, he's going to give solid work no matter what film he's in, even if it's a film that's not quite good as well. But he delivered solid work here. Felicity Jones, who I really like, I thought she was fine as well, but I kind of wish they did a bit more with her character as well. And of course, the supporting cast were, again, fine, but none of them sort of were really given that much to do in terms of their characters. But I will say this though, like some of the sort of the twists and turns on which this film goes when it comes to this story, I did find quite surprising at times, and I actually did not expect. Like some I did, others I didn't. So that way, it did the film. I do give the film credit for that, and as well, I do give the film also credit, but because this is kind of the kind of premise, like I was saying before, that it's like a save the world type of scenario. The film does have a bit more, at least a bit more weight to it, because it's when you kind of got the world, when an event that's possibly going to wipe out most of humanity as the center of your story, it definitely adds, like I said, adds a bit more weight to the film overall. So in that regard, I give the film credit for that. But overall though, but that being said though, like it kind of has, like I said, they kind of wish there was some aspects of the film I wish the filmmakers delved into more. I wish some of the ideas and concepts that the film sort of explores were developed more as well. And like I said, to me it doesn't feel as cinematic as the first two films, and like I said, it kind of just feels like a big budget TV movie, pretty much. But that being said, at times I found it enjoyable as well on a certain level. So it's not good, it's not bad, it's kind of okay. So, but overall, if I had to give Inferno a rating, I give it a solid 3. Like I said, there are some entertaining aspects to it, but I kind of wish that they kind of capitalized more on the premise. So, yeah, and it's also, I'd say it's one of Ron Howard's more weaker films as well. So, yeah, so overall, 3 stars. So, yep, that's the end of my video review of Inferno. I hope you guys all enjoyed it, and I'll see you guys all later. See you guys. Bye.